Well, it's of course very good news in Indonesia that the manufacturing sector rebounded strongly in the February survey. And I think it was very much due to domestic orders, signs that the domestic economy was having some normalization after the heavy flooding in earlier months. And also, I think, improving underlying domestic activity in the Indonesian economy. Because Indonesia actually is not so vulnerable to the China demand as some of the other countries in Asia. The Indonesian economy is still very much driven by domestic demand. So up to now, it's been relatively little impacted. Of course, there's some impact on the tourism sector if Chinese tourists are not coming, and some impact on orders for raw materials. But overall, the impact has not been so significant on the trade side somewhat, but domestic demand is the main reason why the manufacturing sector is showing this improvement. However, what's critical for the continuing improvement of Indonesian manufacturing is whether the number of cases in Indonesia of the coronavirus can be kept under control. Because as we see with South Korea or Italy, that if the health authorities cannot manage to control the cases, then it has a very direct impact on the consumer spending. So this is the risk for Indonesia now. Right now, Indonesia doesn't have very many reported cases of coronavirus, very, very few, just one or two. But now it's very crucial to prevent escalation, because once there is escalation, then it's very devastating for consumer spending because people don't want to go out anymore. And of course, industrial production can also be disrupted. So it's a very crucial period for Indonesia now in the next few weeks.
And where do you think can we go from here? Since we already reached the index of 51, we are afraid that this is sort of happened once in a full moon. Because this is happening since June 2019, we have the expansion index level of 51. Will it be really be challenged? Because just very yesterday, we got the report, the official report of the coronavirus official report in our country.
I think at the moment, the global environment is weakening. So of course, because of the spreading coronavirus, the global economic outlook has been downgraded. As I mentioned, we've cut our global forecast for world growth by 0.5%. So the world economy, in our view, is growing about 2% this year, not as fast as we had hoped earlier this year. So it will have some negative impact on Indonesia as well. Hopefully not too much, but it depends on the number of cases. So I think at the moment, Indonesia is still looking quite resilient, but we cannot really expect improving momentum. The risk is that momentum could slow down because orders from other countries becomes weaker in this situation. So I think this year will be a difficult year for many countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Indonesia is perhaps less vulnerable to the external demand shock from weaker trade than many other countries in Asia. But of course, the vulnerability for Indonesia is if domestic demand becomes weaker. So I think 2020 is a difficult year, a challenging year for industrial outlook.